Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
This is Kai, and we have another great discussion for you today. The movie of the day is actually two movies. We're doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, and the most recent that came out. So, spoiler alert for the 2022 version. The 1974 version, we hope you've already seen it, but just in case, still want to give you a heads up that there will be some spoilers.
Yeah, it's not like the movie. The original 1974 movie like ends in like anything that's spoily. But
Well, somebody doesn't
yeah,
die.
that's true.
Like,
That's true. That's true.
Sally's alive.
Yeah, but yeah. So the 1974 version we watched, and then also the one from 2022, the
hmm
Netflix
The
version and
Netflix version.
everything. So we wanted to kind of compare and contrast these two movies, since
Yeah.
we're kind of like had the theme for this month for like thrillers slash slashers. Kai doesn't really like horror movies too much, so this is like the like how horror
Horror
movie it can be.
esque. It's like right on the cusp.
Yeah, but
I don't want to have bad dreams. Come on.
true, true, true. But yeah, we wanted to compare and contrast. Like we figured, I went down this rabbit hole. Like how many Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies there are. There's like really obscure ones. Remember, like when everyone was going through like the 3D phase of
Oh
movies.
goodness, yeah.
There's a
Even
3D.
Halloween did that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of these movies, and I wouldn't even consider the 2022 version, the Netflix one, as a reboot or a sequel. Well, it is a sequel, right?
It was, yeah. It was. I think it was a continuation of the original, right? Because
Because that lady comes back.
Sally's back. Yeah.
Yeah, which is not the original actor. I found out like she would have been like crazy old. Uh, but
Okay,
that's
that
not.
makes sense.
I think that unless Patty was like doing, Patty was the one doing like all the research. Like I was like, what? Like who is this person? And she would like pick up her phone real quick. And look.
Checking IMDb real quick, like we all do now.
Yeah, right.
I've seen this person somewhere.
But yeah, so it's like it is semi like a continuation.
Yeah.
It's like 50 years later, I think, and so something like that. But uh, but yeah, like I don't know how you want to kind of structure this conversation. Like, do you want to kind of talk about both? Um,
Let's just dive in. Let's talk about what we liked about the original, and then we'll jump into both of our favorites, the new one.
okay. I'm assuming we know
So
what the new one's gonna be.
yeah, uh, when because you haven't seen X yet,
No,
you haven't seen X or Pearl.
no.
So when I was watching the original, you really see a lot of the references that X used, and I even have it in my notes, like inside the van when they were all interacting within the van. That was very similar to a scene in X. They're all in a van driving to this location.
Hmm.
Even the location where Leatherface and his family live is a lot like X. Like they're
Interesting.
in a home just in the boonies. And X is like that, where Pearl and her husband live just in the boonies and they happen to have like a guest house. And I have the hitchhiker. You've seen Hangover, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So I put in my notes the hitchhiker became a part of the wolf pack when he sliced his hand open.
that's true. But I think that does make sense where it's like the I think that like that time in the van is like so suspenseful. So
Yeah.
like it builds that's sort of one of my notes too is that the opening like the first 30 minutes of the movie is just all tense build up to what is going
hmm
on and everything, and it's just like it makes you just feel awkward. It makes you just feel
Like
different, and
what's
like
gonna happen? Yeah.
not the awkward that you felt during Cape Fear. This is more of like you're in
Yeah.
that van, you feel claustrophobic with them too because like they're
hmm
stuck in that van, and there's a lot of like looking down, like camera shots where like you're looking up at the person, or camera shots of like from the front of the van looking into where like the hitchhiker looks so like center stage, and
Yeah.
he's like you can tell like it's like a spotlight on how like creepy this guy is.
Because you know, and that's the thing, though. I think the claustrophobia is intensified because you know something's gonna happen. Like you know what movie you're watching, so you're just like waiting, like, okay, when is it gonna happen? And then this dude just cuts his hand open,
And
and then stabs the freaking dude in the wheelchair.
yeah, right. And I think
It's like,
and I
ugh.
think they don't like respond in a manner
No,
conducive of
no.
like someone got one of your no matter what, if you
One of your
don't
friends
like the
got
guy,
stabbed, bro.
if you don't like the person, like it seemed like the other people like traveling with them
Hated
did not
him.
like that he's like
Yeah,
he's handicapped. He can't maneuver around as easily
they
as
just
the
left
rest of
him
them. So
outside.
so yeah, they're kind of like more of like, oh, like why do we got to push him around? So that's so but but that still doesn't justify the reaction that you do when you have someone get sliced up in your own
Yeah,
van.
and you're just like, he'll figure it out, type of thing.
Yeah,
Like
and then you
he's
just
already in
go
a
along
wheelchair,
with
he
your
can
day.
ride
Like
away.
we're still gonna
Yeah.
go drive to some random house and everything.
All they did was just wrap a bandage. Somebody
Yeah.
probably ripped their t-shirt and just wrapped it around his arm real quick, and they just kept it moving. Like, hey, let's go check out this creepy house real quick.
I think we kind of granted like nowadays I think people but I think if you I think we knew what we are kind of stepping into. We knew kind of the story of Leatherface. We knew what Leatherface looked like. So
Yeah,
I can only imagine how this movie, this like beginning portion, felt like for people that watched it back in 1974, or like even now. Like I hopefully there's some people that don't know what Leatherface is, and they
mm,
watch this movie and they're like freaked out because it's like this feels weird. This feels like it's almost like those times where like they tell you like when your body knows this doesn't feel right.
something.
And I think
Yeah.
most people would feel that inside of that van, like this does not feel normal.
Mm-hmm.
And your body's like trying to figure it out. Like, do we run? Do we kind of keep going and stuff? And that's sort of I think they did that so in a master class of like this just like confined space feels weird and
Yeah.
that energy level and like how the hitchhiker kind of like
Just amplifies it.
amplified everything and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Even though at first he starts off nice and everything, and
Yeah.
like seems fairly normal, just probably had too much sun maybe, and they're out in the boonies of Texas.
No, he's seen too many murders. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that whole family was crazy. The grandpa sucking on the finger. I was like,
Yeah,
dude, what is going on?
yeah,
Hit her
right.
in the head, grandpa, and he's just dropping the hammer.
And I feel like
Ugh.
the grandma was probably the worst one, and like she's like that's why they like had her like all like skeleton and everything and
Yeah.
whatnot. But
But is that so? I guess to kind of jump between movies, is that the same? Because the grandma was dead in the first one, but then the Leatherface in the most recent one was supposed to be the same Leatherface from before, and he had a mother with him, but they never showed the mother in the first one.
yeah, and that's what's and that technically that's an orphanage in the second in the newest
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
So yeah, that's where it gets kind of confusing. Where like it's not like I wonder how they kind of like how the director or the writer kind of like stated that
like how you tie these two in
yeah, like
together.
how are these connected as a
Yeah.
sequel, but it technically doesn't seem a direct sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and like if like why would they build a town around the house if
Yeah, because they were in
that
the
happened?
boonies. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's where it gets kind of confusing. That's sort of like what kind of leads down to like the 2022 version being nothing I nothing.
it's a head scratcher
Yeah,
more than
it's
anything. Like,
there's but but yeah, yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know where the mom figure comes in and everything and or like because he was old enough to not be placed in an
yeah,
orphanage from the
especially if it's
first movie.
50 years later. Like,
Yeah,
that
right.
fool was the grandpa's age.
Yeah.
He's not chasing anybody like he was chasing people.
And he's not Michael Myers and like has like a
Yeah,
magical power to like stay alive.
exactly.
We see
Freaking
we assume
Wolverine.
he's a real human. Uh
Yeah.
but so yeah, there's some gripes with the newest one.
Mm.
Uh
Was wasn't Leatherface kind of wasn't he the character itself? wasn't he based on a serial killer?
Yeah, Ed Gein.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There's an individual, Ed Gein, um, who who's a serial killer. They actually don't know how many people, but like when they
Yeah,
kind of went to go find him and stuff, and they found his
it's like
barn, and he had people.
astronomical, right?
It was there was a lot going on. Like there was a lot like of like bones that he like made
Bones
into
and
like furniture and stuff. And so,
yeah,
granted, Leatherface takes Ed Gein's like they don't know how many people he killed and everything in his like
yeah.
career or like his time.
Career.
I that was, I
Hey,
don't think
that's
I've
the
ever
only way
heard
to
that,
put
but
it.
like that doesn't
That's the
say.
only way to put it. Honestly, he wasn't doing anything else. It's like, hey,
Yeah, but they took that story and like took it to the extreme, which I guess like
okay,
I guess it's like if you take inspiration, their whole like beginning portion where it says this is based off a true story, that is
yeah,
not like that's a
yeah, no,
very like big
vague,
elaboration
like,
of like how
reaching.
much you're basing this off a true story. But one of my first notes is I love that intro where like you like are hearing someone narrate this like these like what's going on like this
Yeah,
became the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that I think sets the tone like
I like that too.
that was a very good intro, and then it goes into like news, like the
Yeah,
someone listening on the radio like how like the radio broadcaster transitions from like these like bodies mutilated from like a cemetery into like more normal news and then back into something
hmm,
else like how we listen to news nowadays. It's like something like horrific, and then it
then
transitions
they
to
cut
like,
to
hey, this is how you keep your car clean and everything.
puppy found. It's like
Yeah. So
that's actually my first like as well. Like that slow opening, and then they just
mhm.
reveal like a corpse just hanging out in a grave on a gravestone.
Yeah, yeah, I think that was like a perfect way to kind of like open the movie.
Yeah,
But what else did you like?
not um. Well, I'm gonna before I say that they did touch on Ed Gein in the Dahmer show, didn't they? They had like a brief like comparison of him, and they showed the barn, if I remember correctly.
Did they?
Yeah, it was like a night scene, and I don't know if I think they did mention his name. It was really brief, but it was like super sinister, and they kind of briefly show it. I'll have to find it. I'll find something
Yeah.
on like YouTube and send it to you. But so yeah, I really enjoyed the opening, and then I liked Sally. Like Sally, well, I like Sally's landings. For whatever reason, Sally was jumping out of windows and just was fine. So I liked both of those.
Talking about like our we're thinking about having a new theme for next month that's strong female leads. I think
Yeah,
she like kills it in this whole movie. Like you said, like
yeah,
the second time she jumps out of a window, I was like, I told Patty,
yeah.
I was like, that's the second time she jumped out of a
Yes,
window, like, which
yes.
is exactly probably you would want to do to get away from these fuckers.
No, but then she gets to the freaking big rig, and like they don't just drive off.
Yeah, that was confusing because it's
That
like
pissed me off.
I can see where someone is driving down the road and like it's just like confused as to what the hell they're
Yeah,
seeing, and they had just ran over someone, and so technically they ran
yeah,
over the brother. But
yeah.
but yeah, why don't you just open the door and be like, just get in and we'll
Just
drive
drive
off?
off.
Like he can't
Yes,
stop a big rig and
yeah.
everything. But
And
and
then they
then
try to sneak out the other side. It's
you
like,
sneak
no,
out the
just
other
drive away.
side, and then the dude runs off, the truck driver, and so like,
Yeah.
what is that guy gonna say when he goes down?
I saw a guy in a leather face.
Yeah, like I don't know what's going on, but
There was a bloody lady came out the sunflower patch. Like, I don't know.
what one of my I think one of my biggest things that I liked, I just locked my phone for no reason. I'm staring at my notes. What I think one of the most iconic scenes of the movie is the first time you see Leatherface, and that
mm,
is definitely gonna scare the shit out of anybody because it's such a brutal scene. It just like gives you a quick look at Leatherface. He whacks him on the head, and it
dude, that was
continues that
hilarious.
story that like there's a slaughterhouse nearby. They used like
Yeah,
the people in the van, like the guy in the wheelchair was saying that like that's how they used to kill the cows, like kind of knock them over the head. So so it kind of continues that story or like that
Hmm.
kind of like topic into like these individuals that almost treat human beings as cattle or like livestock for themselves, and you see it where it's just like that quick, and then he just slides that door over, and then just poof, and then you're like, what the hell just happened? Like, imagine seeing this in 1974. You're
Oh yeah,
probably
you would lose your shit.
you're
Yeah.
losing it.
like like how is this real? How did they
Yeah, like
film this?
what
Like
the
what's
hell
going
did I
on?
just see? And to
Yeah.
contrast, the newest, I'm assuming when Leatherface is killing, who's the
Oh,
black guy
Sally.
in the movie?
Oh, Dante.
Dante. When like the
Oh,
door
when he
is like
swiped him.
moving and he like sliced him in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was their way of doing that scene, that like iconic, like you
Mm-hmm.
barely see Leatherface, but he does something. But that did not. I was like, I turned to Patty
No, it
real quick,
didn't
and I was like,
pan
is that,
out.
if that's their way of doing that, like sliding of the, like, I know you don't want to redo the scene, but that was
Yeah, you want to
not a
make it
good
your own.
attempt at like trying to redo that, like that major pinnacle scene.
Yeah. I think they did better when it's okay. This Sally is I'm gonna continue that Sally is a superhero because she in the newer one, Leatherface gut like for real guts her
Oh yeah,
like, and then she still was able to shoot him with a shotgun.
shoot him with a shotgun, still give the shotgun to the other girl, and
Yeah,
be like, "Here you go." Like, yeah, there was still a lot going on. Like, she seemed like she had a good like
like
10 minutes
nothing was
left.
going on. Well, even Dante got slashed in the face. All this blood is gushing on the floor, and then he somehow gets up, walks outside.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like, dude, what? I was so confused watching that one.
this is a different world where everyone can survive many things.
Dude, chainsaws, like, come
Chainsaws,
on.
slices to the face and stuff.
Those
But
cops, the one thing I can say uh, about the second one is I enjoyed the first kill. When they pull up to town, they have to cart the mom out of the house, they're in the sheriff's truck, and the mother dies, and Leatherface just loses it and breaks the sheriff's wrist, stabs him with his own bone, and shit just starts going down. I love that part. That was the best part of the entire movie.
but but it goes to a point that I had against this movie, and right
Okay.
when I was gonna start the movie on Netflix, I was
Uh
like,
huh.
"This is from 2022."
Yeah.
I told Patty, I was like, "I think they're gonna make this too gory and
Oh
add
yeah.
too
Yeah. Yeah.
much gore to the movie to like make it excessive." And
Mm-hmm.
they totally did. And after he killed the dude with his arm, which is freaking awesome, it was almost like a Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat type of
Yeah.
like killing. But the moment I saw that, I was like, yes, they're gonna make it super gory
Mm-hmm.
for no reason. Because the first movie, at least you can still watch that movie and not feel enamored. You can imagine the gore, and I think
Yeah.
that's what's so unique about the the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was you saw what was happening, and just through context and sort of like the sounds and stuff, your mind can do more to you, good or bad, with the information that it's given to you. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you can't see what's going on, but you can hear it, you can sort of imagine it, that makes it worse.
Yeah.
Where in the newest Texas, it's like I kind of knew that they were gonna do that, where it's like they're just gonna make it too much, where you didn't have that mystery of like, oh shit, like that dude is done. No, they showed it to you, and like it came to a crescendo in that bus scene where it's like just pools of blood. Where I think that bus scene
Instagram
was cool.
live.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
cool. Um, but yeah, there's a lot going on with the newest movie. That's like my
Yeah.
own, like my biggest complaint was there's too much going on with the newest movie, and
I
it continued the story of like the horrible millennials and everything. It, or like it doesn't continue the story. It's just like that's like an easy story arc for a lot of people.
yeah.
I think there was too much going on with the main character, the one that went through the school shooting. There was a
What was the
lot going
point of
on.
them tying in it? What was the point of them tying in a school shooting to that? Like that was unnecessary.
Yeah, I don't think it and there was a lot going on, and it's like it didn't do
Yeah.
anything to the character. Um, yeah, I think you could have had these same characters and sort of the same. There was just like the whole, I don't know. It's just it's hard to complain. It's hard to like comprehend and everything, but there was a lot going
There. Yeah. I, I I have to agree with the gore. I think to your point, I think over time we've lost our imagination.
on.
So I think that's why we're like force fed, like, oh, hey, this is what's going on right now. They don't want us to make up our own assumptions of what is happening, what Leatherface is doing. They actually want to show you, like, hey, yeah, he's chopping all these people's heads off and then just holding it in his hand compared to the original where it's like, oh, he's running around with a chainsaw. He's going to start slashing people, but there may be people he's killing that we don't see. So I did like that about the original, like the subtlety of the original compared to just the amount of blood and guts they showed in the newer one. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and there was just a lot of like I guess they try to tie everything into like, oh hey, it's a new millennium, it's 2022, whatever, and they wanted to add in social media to it, so they had like, oh, let's live stream, but there's this big guy with a chainsaw running in front of us on this little bus. Let's just watch him and stream it and say, hey, we're gonna get you canceled. It's like he has a chainsaw. He's gonna slash your head. Like, what are you doing? The school shooting thing was confusing. Like, what's the point of this? Um, I yeah, there was just I had more questions about the movie than I had enjoyment.
and
I
you had the typical like Texan and everything. I think they just wanted to kind of
yeah.
like add in like the social stories of that time and everything, and add it into a movie that probably didn't need it. It's like whatever. I
Yeah,
guess there's another way you can modernize this movie.
because X did that. X came out in 2022
Yeah.
and made a new age slasher without like yeah, it's based in I think the 70s, maybe 80s. But they're able to do that and not have to show all of this backstory and connect it to like, hey, this is 2022. This is what we're doing. Yeah, and it was more subtle. Like this was just super in your face. And yeah, the contractor. Like, what was the point of having animosity and anger between Dante and the contractor?
Hmm. Yeah, it
And
was.
then they become friends. Like, oh, I see your face is chopped in half. Like, now we're buddies. Don't die.
Yeah.
Like,
Now
what?
I'm gonna save everyone, and then you get killed.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a difference between visual storytelling, I guess, like if you want to call it visual storytelling, but like
Mm-hmm.
they went too far with like we're gonna show you everything, like you said.
Yeah.
Where I think that suspense, that tension, and that feeling of crime, in from the first one, you can replicate that with like if you
Mm-hmm.
want to do it in a modern setting. I think you can do that. You can totally do that.
Oh yeah.
I think there's ways to kind of modernize, like you said, with like X probably they saw the movie, they want to do a retelling of sort of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but in their own
Yeah.
way, and modernize it and bring it to modern audience. That's why you see A24 being like here you
Killing
go,
it.
man. We're gonna
Yeah.
yeah, they're killing it with like everything. So it's like I
Yeah.
think you allow for creativity, but then you also have this like sense of like understanding that like you don't need to tell the audience everything. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the thing where it's like I think we talked about that a lot, or like I've seen it in like most people's like critiques of newer movies. It's like film or like audiences are thought to be dumb now, so you
Mm-hmm.
have to tell them everything. And these older movies were very you got a lot of things through context, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is like creepy because this is like feeding into my like my fight or flight scenario right now and stuff. And
My
so
goosebumps are
yeah,
up and
yeah,
going
like
on.
even Patty and I were like jumping at like everything that we heard outside of our like house and stuff when we were watching the original one. The second one or like the newest
Oh, it
one, I
was
was like,
Yeah.
I was like, whatever. Like this is kind of like I just want to get through it now. This is
That's like watching
boring.
a comedy. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah,
all
like
right.
I was really bored with the movie, and it didn't look good. I was like, I don't know, just like
The only scene that I really enjoyed in it was the sunflower scene. Like when he's in the sunflower patch and he's hidden, then he slowly
and he gets
peeks up
up.
and you just see him.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
enjoyed that shot.
yeah. That was a beautiful shot, and I was
Yeah. Where's
like
the rest of this? Like,
this is that's. I think that probably would have been perfect too, where it's like you have it where you don't know where he's at. You
yes.
see him like periodically and everything, and using
And he's
shots
just
like
killing.
those.
Yeah. To show me a dead body and then him walking away. I don't even need to see him kill the person.
Also, I
That
think
would
they
have been
showed his
cool
face
as
too
hell.
many times. Like I think
Oh yeah.
that's the whole thing too. It's like a lot of people talk shitty about the Halo TV series, like because they showed his
Yeah.
face. You're not supposed to be showing people's faces. It's like, but because like in the first movie, I think you have to put it up to the guy that played Leatherface himself, where it's like you saw through the mask, and all
hmm
you're able to see is like little twitches of his eyes and
Yeah.
everything, little movements of his mouth, and
Because this one you saw the entire, like you saw the man's face before he put his mom's face over his face.
yeah. So it sadly it humanizes them and everything. It's like
Yeah.
you see the face of the monster
I was like, all right, come on.
and everything. Yeah.
I think so. One, not to keep jumping and referencing movies, but one movie, like modern movie that's a slasher that was a nice take on like a modern slasher was Spree.
I've never
So they
seen that.
have like it's on I think Hulu.
Hmm.
It's with what's his face from Stranger Things, uh, the ex boyfriend. I forgot dude's name. He's been on a bunch of stuff. He looks like John Ralphio from Parks and
Oh.
Rec, but he's a Uber driver, or like a it's not Uber in the movie, but he's a Uber esque driver, and he wants fame and notoriety, so he's driving around, and as he's driving around, he's live streaming himself, and as he's picking up passengers, he's killing them
Oh.
using different methods.
Uh
He was
huh.
poisoning people with water bottles, so he was just like putting a syringe in it, shooting it up with some stuff, so they would drink the water bottle, they would die in the back of his car. He was hitting people with cars, like he was doing wild stuff. But that was at least in
Crazy.
my opinion, a good modern take on like a slasher or killer type of film.
See, that's the thing where like you have examples of it being done correctly in
Hmm
your own point of view, and I think that's where
Yeah,
it's kind of difficult to look at the newest 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it's like this could have been done better, and whether
hmm
like were you just trying to make a movie just to use the license of or the
the IP.
character IP of Texas Chainsaw Massacre to yeah, it's like it could have been done better.
Yeah,
That's
one thing. Uh, so, however, Sally found. Oh, I think she was on like the radio. She heard it over the radio that Leatherface was back.
uh huh.
I thought it was hilarious when she actually confronted Leatherface and she was like, "Do you remember me?" And he just kind of like nonchalant, didn't do anything. I laughed so hard because she really thought like, "Oh, he's gonna remember me."
And he's gonna say yeah or something
Yeah,
or
for real.
whatever. Like
Like, oh, hey, Sally. Like, come on, lady.
you went through a whole night of never. You hear him just speaking in like in random like grunts and stuff, and you expect
Yeah,
he's gonna say something to me today.
yeah. It's nice to see you after 50 years, Sally. It's like, no, come on. He doesn't care.
Yeah,
He's just trying to murder
he's
somebody.
probably like
Come
I've
on.
killed so many people. Come on, you trying to make
Who?
me.
Which one were you? What year were you again? Like, come on.
And it's like that again. It's like that writing in the story. It's like you just like try to prolong this like story by her like confronting him and like
Yeah.
wanting this answer of like do you remember me or my four other friends and stuff and
Am I special enough?
yeah and so it's like but in terms of let's get to the rating. I have you ever have you
Okay.
any Any other words for the original or the second? Try not to
uh,
sneeze.
the last thing I have for the newer one, I did enjoy the last kill where he
The
snatched
Oh,
the
he snatched
sister
her
out of the
out of the thing
car.
and
Yeah,
sliced her head
and
off.
yep, I
I
enjoyed that. That was a good way to end it.
thought that was gonna be like a fever dream, where like she's like imagining that. But that would be
Mm,
like like a good way to like that is like a typical way to end it, where it's like a
yeah,
fever dream and it's like, yo, you like are still kind of like traumatized by it. But I guess
by what
if it is
happened.
true, then yeah, I guess that's like an interesting, and then she drives off like autopilot, doesn't know what the hell's
That
going
was funny too. That was actually funny.
on.
Like, oh my goodness, I can't turn off the autopilot
Yeah, like
because it's not just a press of a button. Like, come on.
right.
Um, I have to open my phone to figure out what I gave these wonderful movies.
I
Okay.
honestly think I can probably rate the first one a little higher.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think after
So
watching the second one, I think, or like the newest one, I think the
you want?
original one is a much better story, and just
Hmm.
with the context of like the time it came out, I can't even imagine people just freaking out in movie theaters and stuff and just being blown away by
Yeah.
it. Like, and I can only assume this was like a low budget film,
Oh, for sure. It's
and
indie for sure.
yeah, and
They
like
had
it
no
looked all
money.
grainy and
Hmm.
everything, and I can only imagine like the dude having to film inside the van, like while they're actually driving. Like, there's probably like someone that saw it on the side of the road, like they're driving down, like,
Like,
what's all those people doing in that
should we call the police?
van? Right?
Because you know they didn't get any permits. They just start
Yeah, no,
filming.
they just
Let's go. Let's go.
some random house that they found, like no one cares.
Do you want to start off with your rating, or do you want me to go?
Oh, you can go.
Okay. So for the original 1974, I'm torn. I'm between like a two, 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I enjoyed it. I think the reason I gave it such a low score or low rating was the last like maybe 10 or 15 minutes of Sally just screaming uncontrollably. Like, if they would have cut that down, I would have been like, okay, I'm giving this movie three, like 2.5, three for sure. But just the amount of screaming and just like, come on, lady, you're not getting out of this. And then somehow she shimmies and does her superhero jump. And I'm like, okay.
I get that.
For the newer one, I gave it, I saw your rating, but I gave it a one and I was like, I'll be nice. Like, it had some nice, like some decent enough looking shots. So I gave it a 1.5.
I remind myself, and I wrote a little comment. Uh, I for me, yeah, I think that critique of like that scene, like I think the last 30 minutes, like she spends screaming the whole time. She never
Yeah.
says a line, I think, but or she says like just random things. But I think in that like time where she's tied up at that dinner table, she could have said more things. I think that
Hmm.
probably would have been a good time to like she calms down a little bit and then just like starts to like barter a little bit better of
Yeah.
like, all right, like let's do this and stuff, or like let me like whatever. So I think they could have had a little bit more storytelling right there, where like they get into like more like figuring out like why they do this. But I ended up giving it a three, and I can't. I'm
Hmm.
probably thinking I can kind of give it a 3.5 or something because of
Hmm.
how well I think the story was done. Um,
Hmm.
it starts off with this like great narration, sets the tone, and then a good 30 minutes where you're like, I know I'm supposed to be watching this monster movie or like a scary movie, but this is just them kind of like interacting with like life out in the boonies of Texas and stuff, and
Yeah.
you can
Let's
kind of
explore.
place yourself into that where it's like, and even back then people would do road trips more often, so it's like I
Yeah.
went on a lot of road trips with my family, and it's like, can you imagine being out in the middle of nowhere, just like what the, and then the gas station attendant, like they served them people, and like, and then
Yeah.
to make note that the dude in the wheelchair is like chomping down on a sausage
uh,
that's probably made by
a
people.
person. Yeah.
So that whole thing, I think, and I think the villains in the movie are done well. Where I think a 3.5 could be
Hmm.
done. the first movie or the second movie, I gave or the 2022 version. I gave it a 1, and I wrote in my letterbox review. I wrote a simple sentence: "This movie is not good." But I guess some of the shots are nice. I guess you have a better eye with that, but yeah, the sunflower shot super nice and
Hmm.
everything. That was a beautiful shot. But I think that was the beauty of the landscape that they had, and so I
Yeah,
think that's like
yeah.
more so if they could have used that more as like a like environmental storytelling. I think
Hmm.
this environmental storytelling was like it's a racist town with the Confederate flag sitting out there and stuff and
Yeah.
all this and but I think you can do more environmental storytelling um, in this movie. It was like kind of like I guess in 2022 or like 2021 like we probably had like a
Hmm.
mishmash of like some really bad movies because people just wanted to put out something that
Yeah.
people can watch
It was COVID.
while like during
Yeah.
like while sitting around. But I would say this is not a movie I would suggest to people. If you have a lot of time in your hands, don't watch this movie or something.
Yeah, there's plenty of other movies.
But let's go to this. Would you buy the first movie? I know I would say definitely not for 2022. Never buy that movie. It's on Netflix
No,
too, so you
no, no,
should
no.
never buy it.
Yeah.
But would you buy the first one?
I would. Yeah. So I think you and I had talked about it. As a kid, I was scared of, I think, every horror movie. And I thought like slashers were in that same realm. So I never watched Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street as a kid. So
Uh,
now as an adult, I'm watching them. So I have been watching Halloween, trying to catch up on those. I watched all the Screams, and this for sure falls into that. So I would buy the original. The Netflix 2022, no way, no way.
there's no chance. I wouldn't even say
Yeah,
like go get a Netflix account just to watch it. Like
yeah. There's so
steal a
many
password
other
from
things
one of
on
your friends or
Netflix.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just if you see it on your whatever feed, just skip it. Yeah, just don't worry about
I
it.
think also the first one is a good one to buy for just like looking at the cover art of the first one. Just the
Mm,
poster that's on Letterbox. Whether or not that's the
yeah,
original one, like I think it
that's the one with
just
the white cover, right?
the
And he's
white
like
cover
chasing
and it's
somebody.
just like
Yeah,
the like he's just standing there. I
yeah.
Yeah, I think the first one is a good addition to a collection. If say
Hmm.
like yourself, Kai has bought himself a nightlight just for all these movies that he's been watching now.
Hilarious.
but but myself too, I'm not really big on like watching scary movies. But even back then I wasn't or like when I was a kid I was definitely not very big on watching scary movies. I told my girlfriend when I first met her I watched the original It like that
Mm,
two-part TV series and stuff,
yeah.
and that creeped the crap out of me. And so I never watched anything after that. But I get myself finding myself like, it's like I want to watch like these like new. I watch like the new Hellraiser and stuff. So like I'm
Mm,
pushing my limit of like where
yeah.
I can go. But like these psychological thriller movies, I think are a good like happy medium between
Yeah.
like not so scary movies to like scary movies. But like these at least are on you're on the edge of your seat, but
Hmm.
it's not crazy that you're keeping yourself awake. I remember my mom told me she watched The Exorcist when she was younger when it first came out that she slept with the
Goodness.
light on for like a week.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, no, I'm not gonna watch that. But
Yeah.
even now today, I'm probably not.
Like it took me a minute. I watched Hereditary a couple years back, and that was
That
yeah.
one I remember. I
I was
remember
like,
that one. Yeah, I left like just looking at the corner of my room, and I was like, "This is
oh,
too dark in here."
dude, that scared the crap out of. I was like, yo. There was one thing we didn't touch, or one thing I want to touch on that we didn't mention in from the 2022 version. You were talking about road trips,
uh,
and I'm still confused why they were driving a knockoff Tesla on a road
right?
trip. And they're like, why? Why are you driving? And then they're in the middle. They know they're going to the middle of nowhere where there's not going to be any chargers, and they're like, perfect
Yeah,
car.
and then somehow they make it. Yeah, I know that's true.
Yeah,
They really did say that they're stopping off at gas stations, but like, is it to show like,
yeah,
oh, they don't need to get gas? Eventually, that car's gonna die.
yes, yes.
And
They
yeah,
were
the
in the
front
middle
end
of
looked
nowhere.
hella weird, and
Yeah,
I could
even the steering wheel. Yeah.
learning more about Elon Musk. I can assume that someone probably contacted him from the movie. Can we use an
Mm-hmm.
actual Tesla? And Elon's
But
like, no, fuck no.
I don't want to be associated with this movie at all.
He was like, I'm over here making deals, man.
Nah, I'm trying to go to space.
I'm trying to ruin an entire company right now. but but yeah, so I think my recommendation is definitely watch the first one.
Yeah.
It's gonna freak you out, but not so much that you're gonna keep the light on. But it's really gonna make you like want to like listen to those little bumps in the night and everything. Think twice. But the first one is definitely a good one, and I would recommend it to watch on like a Friday night or like a random night you want to kind of like watch something spooky.
Hmm. I totally agree with that.
All right, Kai, you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason, and we'll be back next week for another one.